For almost a century, pollsters have been interpreting public opinion.
Would you like to participate in a poll about the upcoming election?
Their method is straightforward. Ask a small group of people questions and then use that sample group as a representation of the opinions of the entire population.
Thank you, sir. It's been nice meeting you.
Well, you're welcome. Good night. Thank you for coming by.
But in recent decades, the public has soured on answering questions, calls, or doorbells. And instead of being available at a single point of contact, people have become increasingly mobile, which makes traditional polling more challenging. Today, people are expressing their opinions and habits through mobile and internet technologies, including smartphones and social media. That avalanche of information is making possible new methods to explore what the public is thinking. Today, data is available everywhere.
Credit card information, loyalty card information, demographic information, and community organization information. Think about the things you sign up for. Think about the events you go to.
And when you click that little box that says, I have read and agreed to the terms of service, that is contractual. Several screens of stuff that you didn't read, nobody ever reads it, it wouldn't really matter if you read it anyway. So that means we've got information from all over the place. And that's actually what makes it quite valuable.
Many people give Google their email data via Gmail, their video data via YouTube, their physical location via Google Maps. So when you connect all that data together, it's remarkable the intimate picture it paints of the individual, which I actually think eclipses our own memory, and that we forget all the places we go to.
The challenge is knowing how to extract meaningful information from what looks like random noise. That's where applied artificial intelligence, known as AI, presents both promise and risk. While dystopian science fiction dreams up worlds where machines rule over humans, AI is more commonly understood by its engineers as the ability of a machine to learn and think. They consider it a human-guided tool that learns by digesting massive volumes of data, like social media, and then identifying patterns in the noise. What if there was an AI that could use those patterns to predict how humans would behave in the future, like predicting the outcome of an election? The campaign for the next Canadian federal election has just kicked off. While Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal Party copes with a justice scandal and the ouster of 2 ministers, the Conservatives, New Democrats, and Bloc Québécois all have new and untested leaders. Despite a tight 6-week campaign, the parties are slow to outline their platforms. It's unclear if voters will make their choices based on the issues, the party, or the leader. In Canada's capital, Ottawa, a small startup is using AI to predict the upcoming election.
People are calling this the Seinfeld election.
Really? Because it's about nothing, quote unquote.
Yeah. Although that happens like every election.
Actually, I think that's the opposite. To be honest with you, I feel like what people said to me is this is like the first one where they're actually looking at the policies and not the leaders. The 2 front runners, they mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's really about who do I think is going to do the best job for the economy, for the environment, and I heard a lot of people. Obviously, the economy is always the top for everybody, but who has the best policies?
Physicist Kenton White and accountant Aaron Kelly co-founded Advanced Symbolics, or ASI, in 2015. The market research company uses public data and AI to forecast consumer attitudes.
In the era of Cambridge Analytica and all that, people think it's some sort of voodoo science, like we have a shaman making things happen. I want people to understand that this is just math and it's science like anything else, and it's probabilistic. It's statistics just like it's always been, except it's being done by Poly instead of by phone operators.
They can use a similar approach to predict political opinions.
For
be kind of hard to get information about millions and millions of people and apply statistical physics to it. But now I've got Facebook, now I've got Twitter. How do I use that?
Though they don't work for either political parties or news outlets, Kelly and White saw the election prediction game as a way to promote their research method.
Think about when we do traditional market research, how many times we interfere with the subject, with people, as we're studying them. We interfere by asking them to participate. We interfere in the result by asking a question and how we phrase that question. So our whole idea, we saw that with social media came a great opportunity to observe people in their natural environment. And aren't you going to get much better policy and a much more utopian society if you know exactly what the people in that society want?
And I was inspired by science fiction growing up, like Asimov's Foundation series, where you can use physics and statistical physics on people and populations and map out the whole course of the galaxy. I was quite disappointed when I learned that that's not really possible.
The explosion of social media data offered White a potential treasure trove. He could apply statistical methods from physics to crunch what might seem to others like messy and unusable sources of data. It was the birth of the AI that ASI calls Polly.
Polly, it was short for politics, so we just happened to we're going to call her Polly. We didn't put any thought into it except politics.
You know, Polly is made up of a number of different parts. Little programs that are crawling the web and collecting information.
Those programs, called algorithms, are a set of instructions to perform a specific task.
You've got an algorithm to say, when do you pick someone and when do you don't? Little algorithms that analyze that person and come up with, do I think the person's male or female, or rich or poor, or young or old, or black or white. Algorithms that allow us to find people that are talking about the topic we want to measure. If I showed you any one of these algorithms and how it worked, chances are you'd say, that's pretty simple. It's when you take dozens and dozens of put all these things together that something more complex emerges. She's using more data than me or you or pretty much anyone here could understand in a lifetime.
But what is it that makes Polly intelligent? And notice I didn't say sentient, I said intelligent, right? So she is intelligent because she can grasp concepts, mathematical concepts, and see patterns in people that we can't see ourselves.
But that description makes critics of AI uneasy. The AI's method comes across as a black box to outsiders, which leaves non-AI experts at a disadvantage to challenge the AI's inner workings or its conclusions. In the face of skeptics, ASI saw the Brexit referendum in June 2016 as a way to test their algorithm. Citizens of the United Kingdom were voting to remain in or leave the European Union. Traditional polls conducted almost daily revealed the country was split down the middle. As voting day approached, it became clear that undecided voters would likely determine the country's fate. Meanwhile, Polly was sifting through UK Twitter data to predict users' opinions without contacting them directly.
Polly was seeing Remain right up until 3 days before the actual referendum.
We had 52% voting for Remain and 48% voting for Leave, just like everyone else in the world. Then there was the assassination of Joe Cox.
Labour Party MP Joe Cox, who had been campaigning for Remain, was shot and killed by a far-right extremist on June 16, 2016.
3 days before the referendum, we wake up, we check in with Polly, and suddenly Britain is going to exit the EU. That was different from what she had been saying every other day of the week. and throughout this campaign.
I was worried because an assassination is a black swan event. Black swan event is a rare event, one that my AI has never seen before. In none of the elections that I had trained her on had there been an assassination. Assassinations are rare.
So we told her, ignore the assassination of Joe Cox. What is the result? Remain. So we tested again. Joe Cox is assassinated. Exit. So what had changed?
What was she seeing that everyone else in the world was missing?
The British pound plunged to a 30-year low, and world stock markets convulsed on the news that the majority of UK voters want out of the European Union, the second largest economy in the world.
Polly observes things that we wouldn't even think to observe. We didn't ask her to observe these things. Well, we started going through, David Cameron had done many press conferences during that time, and there was one line, it's something he had said.
It's right that we're suspending campaigning activity in this referendum, and everyone's thoughts will be with Jo's family and with her constituents at this terrible time.
She noticed that throughout the year that she was observing people, if people came online and they said, I'm thinking of voting for an exit, if they had a network of people around them, friends and family, who calmly talked to them about why we shouldn't have a Remain and what the consequences would be, over time that network was effective in winning these people over to Remain if they kept the dialogue going. But once people weren't talking anymore, a certain